was in San Francisco for about 10 years since I was in high school. And I lived in San Francisco and Sausalito, and I really loved it because that's where the action was. That's where the beatniks were. And then later, that's where the hippies were. But in 1966, I moved to Southern California again. And from there, Tom Law and I went to Huautla, where the psychedelic mushrooms were growing. And everybody was going there because they wanted to eat the mushrooms. So we stayed there for a little while, and then on the way back, we stopped in Los Angeles, and I heard that my stepfather was taking acid and smoking dope with a bunch of hippies. And I called him and went up there for dinner, and he says, it's really happening up here. It's wild up here. The Haight-Ashbury is happening. Why don't you come up and stay with me, get your own place, and hang out and see what's going on in the Haight. So that's when we moved to Nicasio, lived with him, and ended up in Forest Knolls, just a half a block above Ron and Marcia Thalen, who ran the psychedelic shop. And every day we'd go into San Francisco and hang out in the Haight-Ashbury, and that's where it was happening. It was a psychedelic spiritual revolution. In the Haight-Ashbury, you would run across people that felt exactly how you felt. And it was like a tribe of people. And you could tell because they had long hair and they were wearing beads and really bright colors, you could tell who was a member of your tribe. And so you could talk to them, and it wasn't like, it wasn't weird or anything, because everybody felt the same way, and everybody had gotten loaded, and it was psychedelic, and it was just happening. There was music every place, and theater, and the diggers were feeding everybody, and everybody was taking care of everybody else, and it was just a wonderful feeling. There was a psychedelic shop where you could hang out and read books, and then they had the human being. The human being was a gathering of the tribes for a human being, where all these people who just looked just like us were coming together in Golden Gate Park at the Polo Grounds. And it was just amazing to see all these people as a member of your tribe. If you can imagine, that's when the Vietnam War was happening, and we were all against the war, and we felt the same way about it. So when we came together and listened to poetry by Allen Ginsberg and Gary Snyder, it was just bliss. Tom and I arrived in the Bay Area at the perfect time to experience the Summer of Love. That's when the music was happening in the Haight-Ashbury, the Love-Ins, the Be-Ins, the Golden Gate Park, the Panhandle. They even closed off all of the Haight Street and had huge concerts, and with Hare Krishnas dancing, and it was just like everybody together. And it ended at the end of '67. They had the funeral of the death of the hippies, and they got a casket and put a bunch of beads in and walked down the street, because all these other people were showing up, and a lot of drugs were showing up, and heroin, and so they called it the death of the hippies at the end of Summer of Love. But the Summer of Love itself was the most exhilarating, happy, spiritual, loving summer, and that's why it keeps resonating today. And here we are in the Museum of the 60s, and this has been a dream of mine for years, to be able to share these images of what happened during those loving, wonderful days of the 60s. And so I've been able to print up a lot of my pictures that I took during the Haight-Ashbury, and the musicians and communes and the Woodstock, and the posters that were done during that time. And so when you come into this show, you're actually transported back to those times, and listening to the music and walking through and seeing all these images really helps people feel what we felt. And it's amazing to be able to watch these people go through the museum and see these images and see their reactions. It's just beautiful. I would literally like to print up thousands of pictures so people can just see all of them. Someday maybe I'll do that. For me personally, I was already documenting everything that I did. All the people that I saw, the events that I saw, I was documenting. And so my life was my relationship with my family and my camera. So I was shooting what was happening in the Haight-Ashbury, and then the Oracle would be printing my pictures and Tom would be writing about it. What makes me feel really good today is when I see Tibetan monks. I'm a Buddhist now, and Buddhism is about love and compassion. And when I see the monks, my heart just opens up because they are so full of love and compassion. And it's just obvious when I'm with them that I get, my whole body changes, my whole being changes when I'm around them, because they, it makes you feel like you're hanging out with your brothers and sisters. And that's the way it was in the Haight-Ashbury during that time, that you were part of a tribe of people. And so when I see the Tibetan monks now, I feel like the same way. I feel emotionally high when I see them. So that's the feeling I had during the Haight-Ashbury, and that's a feeling I can get again now. And the Summer of Love was that way for the entire summer. People just loved being with each other in this tribal situation in Haight-Ashbury. I believe that you have to practice love and compassion all the time and help people. Help everybody that's around you. And so that's what I do a lot. And by showing my photographs, people are able to experience through visual perception, experience those times by looking at my images. And that's my gift to this generation and to the generations to come.